Good morning students, hope you all are doing fine. So till now we have covered various kinds of parts of speech, that is nouns, pronouns, articles, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions and conjunctions. I hope everything is clear to you all. So let us start with another part of speech, which is verbs. So what is a verb? A verb is a word that tells or asserts something about a person or thing. Thus, a verb tells us what a person or thing does. For example, Hari laughs. We can take another example, the clock strikes. Ram plays, and so on. Next, what is done to a person or thing? Basically, what happens or is done to a person or thing. For example, Hari is scolded. The window is broken, and so on. Next, what a person or thing is. For example, the cat is dead. Glass is brittle, and so on. Now, moving on, transitive verbs. A transitive verb is a verb that denotes an action which passes over from the subject, that is the doer, to the object. Consider the following sentences. Rahul beats the thief. So, in this sentence, the action denoted by the verb beats passes over from Rahul to thief. Again, in the next sentence, that is the boy kicks the football. So, the action denoted by the verb kicks passes over from the doer or subject, that is boy, to object, that is football. Now, most transitive verbs take a single object, but there are some transitive verbs like give, offer, ask, promise, tell, lend, etc., which take two objects after them. Generally, the first object after the verb is called indirect object, which indicates or denotes the person to whom something is given or for whom something is done. The next is direct object, which is usually the name of something. It generally indicates something that is given, offered, told, and so on. Now, consider the following sentences. The teacher gave me a prize. So, me is your indirect object. And prize is your direct object. Now, next sentence, she made Sita a new dress. So, here again Sita is your indirect object, and dress is your direct object. Now, similarly, in the next sentence, his father gave him a watch. So, here again him is your indirect object and watch is your direct object. Now, moving on, intratransitive verbs. An intratransitive verb is a verb that do not transit or pass over the action from the subject to the object or which expresses a state or being. Consider the following sentences. Rahul laughs, Kiran dances. So, as you can see in both the sentences, the verb laughs and dances do not have objects. Therefore, the action denoted by the verbs laugh and dances, stop with their respective subjects and do not pass over to any objects. Now, next sentence, the baby sleeps. It expresses a state. So, now moving on to special categories of verbs. They are infinitive, gerund, participle and auxiliary. Now, what is an infinitive? An infinitive is a non-finite verb which is generally preceded by to and is used like a noun, adjective or adverb. So, keep this in mind, it is preceded by to generally. So, now what is a non-finite verb? Let us discuss this first. A non-finite verb is that which is derived from a verb but has no subject and therefore is not limited by the number and person of any noun or pronoun. Whereas, a finite verb is a verb which is limited by the number and person of its subject. Clear? So, now moving on, the word to is frequently used with the infinitive in to plus verb form. So, to plus verb's first form is generally used. Now, consider the following sentences. To study is our duty. In this sentence, the infinitive is used like a noun as the subject of the verb is. Now, next sentence, he likes to play. In this sentence, the infinitive is used like a noun as the object of the verb play. But after certain verbs and expressions, the infinitive is used without to. Such an infinitive without to is called bare infinitive. So, they are used after certain verbs like see, hear, feel, know, observe, make, help, need, let, please, etc. For example, I heard her sing, make him stand, and so on. Then, after auxiliary verbs like will, would, shall, should, may, might, can, could, must, and so on. For example, I will pay the bill. You should work harder. Now, bare infinitives are also used after had better, had rather, would rather, sooner than, and so on. For example, I would rather starve than work in such a place. Now, moving on, next is gerund. A gerund is a non-finite verb which ends in ing and works like a noun. So, keep this in mind, it always ends in ing. So, though it is a verb, but it works like a noun. So, now consider the following sentences. Reading is his favorite pastime. So, in this sentence, the word reading is formed from the verb read by adding ing. We can also see that it is here used as a subject of a verb and hence does the work of a noun. It is therefore a verb noun. Now, similarly, in the next sentence, that is playing cards is not allowed here. The gerund, like a noun, is the subject of a verb, but like a verb, it also takes an object, thus clearly showing that it has also the force of a verb. Now, moving on, next sentence, walking is good for health. Now, gerund is used after with a view to, look forward to, prone to, accustomed to, addicted to. So, keep this in mind. For example, he got accustomed to drinking. Now, he retired with a view to having a peaceful life. Now, next, there are certain verbs which are followed by the gerund like avoid, dislike, keep, risk, enjoy, consider, deny, and so on. For example, I avoid travelling by bus. Now, A gerund is used after a possessive pronoun. Now, possessive pronoun like my, mine, your, hers, theirs and so on. For example, she hates my coming late at night. So, my is your possessive pronoun and coming is your gerund. I appreciate your helping me. Now, next, if verb comes after a preposition, it is in gerund form. For example, Chitra is good at painting. So, at is your preposition. So, the verb used will be a gerund. Another sentence, he is fond of singing. Now, moving on, next is participles. The word which is partly a verb and partly an adjective in its use is called a participle. Thus, a participle is basically that form of the verb which partakes of the nature of both a verb and an adjective. Consider the following sentences. Seeing the police, the thief ran away. So, as you can see, seeing is formed from the verb see and has an object police. On the other hand, seeing and thief have a connection. Seeing says something about the thief. Thus, the word seeing also does the work of qualifying the noun thief like an adjective. Now, similarly, in the next sentence, hearing the noise, the boy woke up. The word hearing qualifies the noun boy as an adjective does. It is formed from the verb hear and governs an object. The word hearing therefore partakes of the nature of both a verb and an adjective, thus acting as a participle. So, is it clear? Now, moving on, next is a present participle. A present participle is a non-finite verb which ends in ing and works like an adjective. So, basically the participle which is formed from the verb after adding ing at the end is called present participle. It represents an action as going on or an incomplete action or state. For example, we met a girl carrying a basket of flowers. Now, next, a past participle is a non-finite verb which is the third form of verb and works like an adjective. So, basically it represents a completed action or state of the thing spoken of. So, the following are the examples of past participle. Driven by hunger, he killed himself. Another example, deceived by his friends, he lost all hope. Now, moving on, next is auxiliary verbs. Now, an auxiliary is a helping verb. It helps the main verb to form the tenses, voices, etc. by being placed before them. The auxiliaries are of two kinds, primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries are be, do and have. So, they change the forms according to the number and person of the subject. The forms of be are am, is, are, was, were. Be has two other forms also, that is being and been. Now, next the forms of do are do, does, did. Then forms of have are have, has, had. Now, next is modal auxiliaries. They are can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must, ought, used to, need, dare. They do not change their forms according to the number and person of the subject. This means that modal verbs have no s or es added in the third person singular present tense. For example, I will. he will. I can, he can. Unlike I go, he goes. So, is it clear? Now, next, unlike primary auxiliaries, the modal auxiliaries cannot function as main verbs except in a few cases. So, they cannot function as main verbs. Now, we will study modal auxiliaries in detail. So, the first one is will. The modal auxiliary will is used to indicate future tense. For example, my friend will come tomorrow. To indicate request, will you lend me your scooter? Will you please open the door? Next, to indicate promise. For example, I will take care of your brother. So, it means that I promise to take care of your brother. Now, will also indicates determination. We will fight to the finish. Now, it also indicates characteristics or habit. For example, he will talk about nothing but films. She will sit for hours listening to the wireless. Now, next is would. The modal auxiliary would is used as past tense of will to indicate past activity. For example, in the past he would go for a long walk every morning. Next, it is also used to express a wish or preference when used with rather. For example, I would rather starve than beg. Now, it is also used to express a desire or intention when used with like. For example, I would like to ask you something. Now, next modal is shall. The modal auxiliary shall is used in the first person while will in the second and third person to give information about the future action. Shall is used with second and third person to denote command, threat, promise and determination. So, consider the following examples. I shall begin the work tomorrow. You shall leave this place at once. If you make a noise, you shall be punished. Now, moving on, next is should. Now, it is used as a past tense of shall. Then it is also used to express duty or obligation. For example, we should obey our parents and teachers. Then it is also used to express advice. For example, you should not tell lies. To express condition, sometimes you use should in place of if. For example, should this happen, I will resign. So, this sentence could also be written as if this happens, I will resign. Now, should is always used with lest. So, we did this rule earlier also while we were doing conjunctions. Do you guys remember? Now, for example, walk carefully lest you should stumble. Now, next is can. The modal auxiliary can is used to express power, ability or capacity. For example, she can lift this luggage easily. Next, he can solve this problem. Now, next it is also used to indicate permission. For example, can I come in? Now, it is also used to indicate possibility. Now, note that can indicates a theoretical possibility, whereas may indicates a factual possibility. So, it indicates a theoretical possibility. So, let us take an example to understand this better. For example, this road can be blocked. Sentence 1. Now, next sentence. This road may be blocked today due to Ram-Leela procession. Now, sentence 1 indicates a theoretical possibility, though nobody has blocked it at present, whereas sentence 2 indicates a factual possibility that the road may be found blocked due to Ram-Leela procession. Fine. So, it indicates a theoretical possibility. For example, accidents can happen in time. Now, moving on, next is could. The modal auxiliary could is used as the past equivalent of can. It is used to indicate ability in the past. For example, I could swim across the river when I was young. It is also used to indicate permission. Could I use your telephone? For example, could I use your telephone? Next, it is also used to indicate possibility. For example, it could rain later. Now, moving on, next is may. The modal auxiliary may is used to indicate permission. For example, may I come in? Now, note one very important thing, the same sentence can also be written as can I come in, but may is more formal than can. So, keep this in mind, may is more formal than can. So, supposingly if you are seeking permission from your teacher to go to washroom, so you will use may. So, you will not use can, you will use may because it is more formal. Now, next, it is also used to indicate possibility, neither low nor high. For example, the road may be blocked today due to the procession. Now, note this down, might, may and must. Just write this down, we will cover might and must later on. So, might, may and must. So, might shows less or weak possibility. While may expresses neither low nor high possibility, whereas must shows greater or strong possibility. So, all of them indicates possibility, but there is a difference. Might shows less or weak possibility, whereas may expresses neither low nor high possibility, and must shows great or strong possibility. So, keep this difference in mind, it is important. Now, moving on, in formal English, may is also used to express a wish. For example, may God bless you. Now, moving on, next is might. The modal auxiliary might is used as the past equivalent of may. It is also used to indicate permission. Might shows less or weak possibility. So, consider the following examples. Might I use your telephone? Next, it might rain. So, that is it for today. We will continue further in the next lecture. Thank you.